I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Graham Noble, Sarah Cowgill, James White, and Jeff Charles. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. When former President Donald Trump came down that gold escalator low 7 years ago, Democrats and establishment Republicans were frankly terrified, and they should have been. Donald Trump has changed the way the old Republican Party functions on the most basic of levels. GOP pollsters are saying that no one wants to be a go-along to get along Republican anymore. So are midterm Democrats facing down Trumpian-inspired candidates? If current trends are any indication, they ain't seen nothing yet. Jeff Charles, you took a stroll through this subject for Liberty Nation. What say you?
Yeah, the midterms are set to be basically the culmination of what started when Trump came down that escalator. And people on the left are very afraid of it. They are afraid of the Trumpification of the party. What is happening, what we're seeing in this primary season here, we are seeing that we are sending mini Trumps into Congress, because the base is tired of squishy Republicans who won't fight for the conservative agenda. They don't want any more go along to get along. So you have these people who are stepping down, like Rob Portman and some others, people who signed on to that infrastructure bill and even the anti-gun bill that was bipartisan that passed recently. And they're being replaced with people who have criticized both pieces of legislation. They want people who are going to go in there and fight. They want people who are going to go in there and not just give in to what the Democrats want. And they don't want people who are going to compromise. And this could actually be not maybe the full end to bipartisanship, but bipartisanship is about to take a major hit because we're going to have people there who aren't willing to compromise. And frankly, this might be what we need right now because of the radical agenda that people on the left are pushing.
Well, it's interesting. Anybody who wants to take this one, you know, you have to think about Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney. You know, what's going to happen to these two?
I would rather not think about Liz Cheney or Mitt Romney. Thank you very much.
You're trying to quit, right?
I'm really trying to give that up.
Trying to cut back on that.
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was the old saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything.
Oh, your mother at least got you right.
Quiet episode right here.
Southern hospitality demands I redact myself from that particular conversation.
No, but you know, Jeff, go ahead. You make a really good point, Jeff. I mean, you know, they're going to be up against it. Just like, let's face it, the Democrats have the same sort of group. They're called the Squad. They don't go along with anything. They don't kiss Nancy Pelosi's Botox.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I would actually feel sympathy for them if they did. But yeah, I mean, you saw them come onto the scene, and now we have the response. And I may live in the South, but I'm not from the South. So I'll say Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney have got to go. What's happening here is a repudiation of everything that these squishy people stand for. They're more about being anti-Trump than they are about pushing conservatism. And the base sees that. They're sick of it. They've been sick of it. And so that's why you have people going into Congress right now, and they're already getting ready to launch investigation after investigation. They're already getting ready to strip certain lawmakers of their committee assignments. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. The only thing that will make me mad is that they get into office and they don't do what they say they were going to do, because we've been there before, right? I mean, people, they make these promises and then they get in, they do nothing. I'm a little bit more optimistic this time around.
Well, but Sarah, I just wanted to ask, is the real question not do they have, or are they going to go, but do they have any way of staying? Is there any chance that these two and these kind of people in the Republican Party are really going to get elected?
Well, there are, you know, states that lean a little more purple. You know, it's not just red, blue anymore. I don't know. You know, the answer to that question is I don't know. I would love to see Utah stand up for their party's ideals and their goals and conservatism. And I don't know if they're going to kick him out or not. It's heavily Mormon. He's Mormon. There's loyalty there. So I don't know if he could go. Cheney's on the ropes. The rest of the world who's coming in here and fighting for him, they're scrappy. And, you know, nobody can just elect people anymore on a nice suit and good hairdo. It just doesn't work anymore because Trump opened his mouth and changed everything. He changed the whole, plan of the party, whether anybody wants to give him credit for that or not. And it needed to be changed. The Republican Party was the party of wussies, 8 years ago, and it's not anymore. That people have finally decided to speak. Silent majority is no longer silent. I don't see the rhinos winning. I see Trumpians winning.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. So to kind of, well, I guess to jump off what Sarah was saying there, there used to be a saying, I'm sure you've all heard it, speak softly and carry a big stick, you'll go far. And I used to say during the Bush years, and I was in high school during the Bush years, and I was paying enough attention
Please
to realize
don't say that. I feel old enough as it is. Please don't.
You know,
say
somewhere
Shut
along
up,
the
Jim.
line, we kept on speaking softly, but we laid that big stick down somewhere and forgot where we put it. Well, Trump came along and picked it back up. And to go back to what Jeff was saying, yeah, the people see what's happening with the Democrats, but that's not all the people see. The people saw Donald Trump come into office saying all these things and then actually doing them. The people saw America become energy independent for the first time in 75 years. I mean, that I think is what's really going to push this red wave. It's what I think makes it almost inevitable. And because we saw what happened when we react to Donald Trump's personality and how we're like, oh, he's a little bit rough around the edges. We're going to have to go with something else. Now we've got the guy who I'm not sure why you would think he's less rough around the edges. He challenges veterans to push up competitions and all kind of ridiculous things. But we see where the country is now versus where it was with Trump. I mean, November's a no-brainer.
But I'm wondering, Graham, is the red wave a little too red for the Republicans? I mean, are they scaring people away, or is this really where the Republican Party wants to go? What do you think?
Well, I think there's a big difference between where the Republican Party wants to go and where, the majority of American conservatives want to go. I think the party itself, because we're talking about the establishment here. And when I say the establishment, I'm talking about the movers and shakers in the two main parties, as well as the media and possibly a very large part of corporate America. This is the establishment, if you like. This is ultimately the ruling class, and their job, ultimately, their goal, if you like, ultimately is always to not rock the boat. They have a very lucrative gravy train running, and they've had it running for decades, and they've been all very happy with it. And of course, Donald Trump threatened to derail it. And this is a point I've made multiple times in the past to people. Donald Trump threatened to derail their gravy train, and that scared them all. And the thing is that, I believe that the vast majority of American conservatives would be more than happy to see a return of Trump in 2024. I believe that, but I think it scares the living daylights out of the establishment, because he's a bull in a china shop. He's a wrecking ball, and they're terrified of that. But I think, and I've noticed even certain conservative media outlets are becoming more and more. Let's just say they're publishing more and more stuff that says, oh, we can't afford to go back to Trump.
Right. They're more reticent.
And you've got to think that after 2020, if Trump were to run for the presidency in 2024, and if he was to win, you've got to imagine that after what happened in 2020, he's going to be even more confrontational and even less forgiving and even more of a wrecking ball. And I think that prospect just scares the hell out of a lot of people in the establishment.
Right, because he'll be lame duck. He can kind of do anything he wants if he gets in. But let's face it, the midterm elections are fast approaching. Everybody is predicting a big red tsunami. It'll be interesting to see if it happens. Thanks, panel. That's That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. Join us in the member zone, just $17.76 for the entire year. Thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio, our executive producer, Sarah Calgill. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com, where truth is making a comeback.